All right, Bryant, go ahead and introduce.
All right, so my name is Brian Farrow, and I'm the chair of the DeVry Online IEEE student branch. Um, we also have Ladinia Jewell. She's the vice chair. And we have Ian Oberdorf here. He's our speaker, and he's going to talk to us about VBA, at least an introduction. And he's actually the Region 2 web administrator for the IEEE. And he's a DeVry graduate. So he knows what it's like to be in our position, students, and especially us in the student branch. So I'm kind of
Mhm.
excited to hear what he has to say about VBA and learn more about it myself. So I'll let him take it from here.
All right. Well, let me get my screen shared here. So we have a quick little PowerPoint here, and I was kind of hoping we'd have a little more attendees, like I was saying earlier. But so first off, let me just welcome you all to this little video tutorial. And what we're going to be doing is kind of playing around with um, Excel by using with VBA. Now, VBA is available in almost any Office application that I know of. However, I've only used it really in Excel. So it's a great tool to have and to know how to use. So let me figure out how I'm going through my slides here. I thought I was presenting them, but apparently not. There we go. All right. So first off, let me kind of more thoroughly introduce myself. So my name is Ian Oberdorf. I'm a Bachelor of Science Computer Information Systems from DeVry University 2019 class. And this was actually my campus at the time, and it's actually where I met Dr. Gina Cooper, who's on this meeting as well. Currently, I am the WebEx Administrator for IEEE Columbus, the Web Admin for IEEE Columbus, the Web Admin for IEEE Region 2, and the Supervising Web Admin for IEEE DeVry. Um, Currently at Metler Toledo, I'm actually a product support engineer. Now, it's kind of odd. I'm a product support engineer when I'm actually a Bachelor of Science Computer Information Systems. So that's a pretty big leap. And it's all thanks to IEEE. Now I kind of prepared these first few slides just to kind of get some of our inactive members more interested in becoming active members. Uh, some of the advantages to IEEE. One, you have professional seminars. So this is kind of one of our samples of a professional seminar, except this is kind of my first time actually doing a professional seminar, so that's a little different. Another advantage being a member of IEEE, you have access to IEEE Explore, and IEEE Explore is a nice online digital library that you can use for a lot of your information. It's really handy for research for fieldwork. Another option is you have a network of professionals in your field. Um, if you're not on our Discord, there are some professionals that are available for you to talk to through the Discord. Uh, Dr. Gina Cooper and I, we both hang out on Discord a lot, and I'm always open to answer any questions anyone would have. Another big part is IEEE is an organization that supports humanity, and they have a lot of humanitarian projects. So it's a great opportunity for you to become a part of a bigger global organization. Then one other nice thing, when you get your IEEE account, you get access to a 30 gigabit Google Drive account as well. So that's a nice thing. Now let me just talk about the IEEE Online. First off, we have access to our Discord server. And Discord, we are working to make it better. We have implemented a lot of nice little security features. We're eventually going to be doing a lot more with it here soon. We have networking, and I try to find things from Cisco Networking Academy to share to the networking group whenever I can, so you could try learning networking even though you might not be in networking. You are part of a giant global network, and it's a really big opportunity to have. 3D printing and mechanics, we're doing that. Last year we actually did a big fundraiser, or a big giveaway for the robotics team. So a lot of members got to get a 3D printer. Another thing is Discord bots. We are currently building a team in Discord right now to develop a Discord bot, and one of our members actually brought us a base foundation to work off of. And then you have access to the professionals. And we're always here to help you out whenever we can. Another thing is I'm actually working to implement a Minecraft server here soon as well, so that you can enjoy everyone playing together in Minecraft. The Minecraft server will have a lot of worlds and activities available, and I even plan to implement lessons in JavaScript with the Minecraft server. Joining Discord for the group is easy. Just go to IEEE DeVry University Online.org. The first slide has the link to Discord. To become an active IEEE member, if you are not active, the second slide will give you, thank you for that link, Brian. The second slide will has a registration link. Just go to this slide, click that register now link, and next step, it's going to be taking you to this page here. Just look off to the right, find the Join IEEE Today button. When you click that, it's going to take you, asking you to sign in. Just create your account, fill out all necessary fields, and then you should become an active IEEE member. Student members start at $35, so become an active member if you are not a member today. And take notes of the my contact information for later, in case you guys ever have any questions after this video, or you just want to reach out to me and just get to know more about me and IEEE. But now let's get to our main topic, which is VBA and Excel. Stop sharing the screen for a second so I can switch to the correct screen. All right. Save. Okay. So let me get my screen shared. All right. So first things first, we need to get Excel. If you don't have access to Excel, then you're not really gonna have a good time in this video. So as long as you have a Microsoft account, I believe DeVry, all students are supposed to have access to Excel. Just open up your Excel document now if you're on a computer. If not, just watch me, and I will eventually make this video available later on. So first off, open your Excel, get a blank workbook ready. The first major step you need to do is you need to have access to the developer options. Now, developer options, if you look at the very top on your tabs, you'll notice you won't see this tab here, developer. So if you don't see developer, that means you don't have your options turned on. So to turn your options on, first go to File, go to Options, and then in Options, go down to the Customize ribbon. And in Customize ribbon, go to the right panel here and find Developer. By default, it's going to be unchecked. Just click the check mark, and then it'll become available. Hit OK, and then if you look at the top of your window, you'll see that Developer tab become available again. So you can just click on that, and then you have access to some nice little coding tools available in Excel. Now, all your work that you're doing in Excel, you might usually be used to just putting all these codes out here, being like equals the sum of something else. What we're going to do is we're going to try to bypass that and use this only as a database. So we're going to only store data variables in here that we can call upon later. So let's go ahead and open up the Visual Basic editor here. And in the Visual Basic editor, you're going to see that we just have a blank gray screen. So first step you're going to need to do is in this white area here, just right click Insert, and then go to User Form, because we'll go ahead and make it, actually, yeah, we'll go with the User Form first. So User Form, if you're used to using Windows, forms should be very easy for you to understand. A form is just typically, I'm just going to fill out some boxes. So it's a great tool for if you're making probably a point of sales interface, or just we're collecting data, like say for a WebEx meeting or something. We're trying to get everyone's information, your IEEE number, or we're trying to make a mailing list, a form is a great way to start. So on your form, all we need to
Hey, Ian, real
do,
quick,
yeah,
did you go to that Visual Basic window from the developer tab? I just missed it. Like I looked away for a second.
yes, to get to the Visual Basic, I might have clicked that too fast. So once you have your developer tab open, all the way on the left side here, it says
There we
Visual Basic.
Okay,
Yeah, just click on
thanks. I
that.
missed it.
That's fine. Um, all right. So, and just in case you missed this, right click in this area, hit insert, and then use your form. But anyway, on the user form here, all we need to do is just create a nice little simple form. So I'm just going to create us a little IEEE based form. We're going to say we're having a meeting here one day and we just need all the attendees to sign in and so that we know who attended. So first field, I'll probably say we need the name. So, oops, that's wrong. That's the that's how it's labeled in their system. So we'll say name text box. If you're used to working with C or C sharp and you've done forms in there, this should be very familiar to you. Next thing we'll use is we're going to go to our caption right here, and we're going to change that to say name. That's what I meant to fix earlier. So now we have our little name caption here, just signaling what our text box is going to be. And now to add our text box, we'll take a text box here. We're just going to draw a text box. So a text box has been created. Now this text box, we can put in some text if we want. And this is just going to be like a temporary placeholder until someone enters stuff. So we can say, please enter first and last name. All right. And then we're going to call this text box here, we're going to call it name text box, just for easier reference. And now that we have all that done, we can add another option here, which is going to be a little button. And we'll just change that from saying command button, we're going to make it say submit. So we're kind of off to the basics here, just making a simple form that we're going to fill out and then do something with. Now at the moment, if I want to test this form, just see like, can I type in this box? How does it look? Does it look like trash? Of course it looks like trash right now, but we'll make it look better someday. Right now I'm just kind of rushing through everything. But hit run, and all you have to do in the text box, you should be able to interface with it, type whatever you want, hit the submit button, but as you see, nothing's going to happen. In fact, here's another thing, is when I open up the Excel application, if I was to close the Excel application after saving it and tried reopening it, you will never be able to see this form. And that's going to be kind of a later step we'll do after we kind of add some code to our submit button. So for the submit button, let's make it to where we're going to be, every time we hit submit, we're going to take whatever's entered into the text box field and we're going to add it to our Excel form in the background here. So we'll make column 1 be the name. All right. So in our VBA form here, what I can do is on top, when I'm hovering over the submit button, I can double click it and it's going to open my programming pane. Now, if you ever were to leave this pane, you can go to the, you right click on user form and then hit view code, and then it'll open this window for you. So right now we're in the function of the command button. Now, if you notice, we have a sub. If you're used to functions, this is what a function is in VBA. So a private sub, command button click. Now, one big thing I like to do is I like to kind of organize my code. So I make this be kind of my main. So if you're used to C# or C-based languages, you're probably used to having a object orientation layout where you have a main code that has functions that are calling out to other class files. In this case, you can kind of imagine that here. We have our prime function, and then we're going to have a lot of sub functions. So command button 1, click. First thing I want to do is I want to find the last row available on my form. So on my form, we need to look for the final row available. Let me see if I can find where my little note was here for this function, because I had that written down. It's a hard to remember command that drives me bonkers every time. L row, L row. Oh boy. Why did I lose that?
You mean you
Okay.
don't just have them all memorized?
I don't have everything memorized. There's so many commands. If you see how long this list is here, it's madness. And it's a
I
there's
imagine
lots
so.
of there's a lot to learn. I mean, the key ones you're going to be using, they'll be really simple to remember. So, say a really easy one to remember is going to be your variables. Okay, variables in Excel are almost exactly like variables in um, object-oriented programming. So, variable. Let's go ahead and start. We'll just do that while I try figuring out what that keyword was in my head here. But variables are really easy to declare. Just say dim space, and then um, call out your variable name. So say we're going to go with name. So dim space name, and then we're going to have it be a string. So say as and then string. Now the best part about VBA programming is you do not have to deal with the root of all evil, best known as the semicolon. So if you're into programming, you know the semicolon is the root of all evil in coding, because you miss just one, the whole code crashes. And then you're stuck wondering, why is my code crashing? But luckily, you do not need a semicolon in this, just like in Python. So I'll just declare dim name as string. And now every time I call out name, it's going to be calling a string. So if I just call name, it's a string. If I say name equals, just like in object-oriented programming, we say name equals Ian. So now if I ever was to say print out Ian, it would just be Ian. But that's not what we're after here. Right now, what we want to do
Oh,
is
real quick, I just have a question. So, are tabs meaningful in this language then?
tabs are not meaningful. Tabs, I mean, I can be all the way to the left. Generally, I always use the tab just because it kind of helps me visually compare everything. Just like in C languages, the tab honestly doesn't really matter. It's just there for visual.
Okay,
In
because in Python it is,
Python,
and this it isn't,
yes,
but you
Python it
don't
is
need
very important.
semicolons. Okay, all right,
Yeah,
thanks.
Python depends upon the spacing. So that's a perfect question. Um, good God, where is that fucking code? I thought I printed
Oh,
it.
is Google a good resource when you need to remember codes like that, or do you have something better?
Yes, Google is my prime go-to. Every time I'm writing like something that I'm like, dang, how can I achieve that? Last line. All I do is say
Okay,
whatever I'm after, last line, and VBA. We can click that to see find the last row, column, cell, or cell in Excel. So it's a very handy tool. Just look on there. There's also Mr. Excel, I believe, and they give you a lot of information.
okay. I just wanted to make sure Google was your go-to, because if there's something better, I'll write it down, you know?
Yeah, there's a tool out there called Mr. Excel. So and it's part of Visual Basic or part of Google. You can look it up in Google. But this was the command I was looking for actually.
Okay.
So nice thought of bringing that up. I didn't think it was going to come up that fast because last time I had many issues finding it. But yeah. So first thing we need to do in order to get my report to work properly, so that we can create a new line every time, we have to find the last row of the column. So what we have going on here is we have a, we're going to assign a variable, the value of last row, which is an integer. So if I dim at L row as var, so is it variant or I think there's integer available. Yeah, as integer. So dim last row is integer. What's going to happen is this line is going to call out to my document and say, hey, what is the final cell available? Now, at the moment, this code isn't going to know where to look. So we have to actually declare the workbook and everything else. So last row is workbooks, books, or actually active workbook. Just say active workbook. It's the easiest thing. Active workbook dot sheets. And then parenthesis, we have to call out the sheet we're on. So sheet 1. And you also have to add quotes around this. Whenever you're declaring sheets, you have to kind of declare it because it is a variable string. Dot cells, and then rows dot count, comma 1 dot end x1 up dot row. So what's going to happen is we're going to be calling out to this sheet. We're going to say, hey, what is your final row available? And then we're going to store it in that variable that we have. Next step we need is we need to create the we need to actually call our line that we have, and we're going to assign it to whatever that last row is. So we're going to make it where we're going to call out for our variable. We're going to call out ourselves first. So first we have to say active workbook.sheets. Sheets. And then sheet 1. Okay. Dot cells. And then rows. Or I'm sorry. Dot cells. And then we're going to, for this next step, we have to say what row are we declaring? Okay, so row is the value of L row. Okay, comma, and now we're going to declare our column. So when you're declaring your cells, what's going on here is it's calling out the rows and it's counting the rows. So what we're going to do is we're going to call our last row value, and that's going to say what line are we on. And then we're going to say column 1. So row followed by column. And then we're going to say dot value. Now we're going to call out our user form. And we're going to say equals user form 1 dot text box 1, because I never renamed it to name.textbox. So whatever your user form, whatever your text box that you're trying to pull values from, you just got to say the name of the form that it's on and then the name of the text box. Next, you got to say dot and then value. So what's happening is it's going to take the value of the text box and it's going to return it back into the sheet. So pretty much we have a working code here. If I was to hit run right now and I say my first and last name and I hit submit, going to call our code, and as you see, it just instantly added my information. So I'll hit submit again, and apparently it's changing. It's not changing. Bryant.
Yeah, it looks like it overwrote the name cell.
Yeah, it is overwriting. So that's expected. If I have my other sheet here, I can pull that up. You know what? Let's just pull up a sheet that I have that on. That's why I keep all my codes in one place.
Can I ask a question just for my own understanding?
Mm-hmm.
In your VBA code that you were just writing,
Mm-hmm.
in the parentheses, is the column the first field before the comma, or is it the row?
It's the row. So it goes
Okay,
row and then colon.
okay, row and column. Okay, got
Mm-hmm.
it. Thank you.
Yeah. If you're doing a range, so there's also the range value. Um, so to alter this, we could say instead of saying cells, we could say the range. In range, you're going to actually do the normal call for cells in Excel, where you say like A1, B1, C1. So that's kind of the difference in range and cells. Cells, it goes row followed by column. In range, it's column followed by row.
Okay, got it.
It's kind of weird. Um, Desktop documents. Yeah, I'm trying to pull up my other script that I use daily. There should be no confidential information in it, so I can pull that up. Script. I'm sorry, I thought I had printed this out earlier, but apparently I did not. Templates. Okay. Yeah, the problem is I printed out the function call instead of the actual one I needed. All right, so how about we just review this code instead? Color change module, view code. Now that's the clear code, view code. That's box, color changer. I know I had a way for me to upload the data. Sheet 1, view code. No, this workbook, view code. Oh boy, where did I put that code? Because it should have been in here somewhere. That's odd. I so thought I had everything more fixed up than this. Or did I put it in another code, actually? There's another sheet that I have, which is right here. And it's actually stored in a cloud file, too. Oh, nope, there it is. Shrink that down. There we go. All right, I'm sorry about that. It's someplace else. Alrighty. Now let's find that last row command right here. So workbook 1, sheet, cells, rows, count. Rows.count to end x1 up row. That's the right command. See, sorry about this. Use a form, view code. Okay.
Oh, you had three fields there. What was the third field in the parentheses?
Third field in the parentheses? What do you mean?
Yeah, I was just wondering. I saw row. Oh no, rows dot. I thought that was rows comma. My bad.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the rows dot, what that is it's saying we're going by rows of the sheet and then dot count. So we're counting. And then we're counting which row do we want to count. So what row are we
Okay.
calling out for? So that's what I'm just trying to compare here real fast. Rows dot count, x1 up, dot row.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, being the only one that can unmute, I'm just want to make sure I'm following. So.
No, it's Andy, and please pay attention to any messages. I haven't seen any come up lately, so if anyone's asking questions, please let me know.
Okay. Well.
But yeah, that should be our function. So I don't know why it's overwriting itself, because for me, that will actually always create a new line. So that's a big bug that I'm gonna have to figure out how to solve one day. Oh my god, I thought I had everything planned here, but apparently it just went to trash. um.
I'd say we're just troubleshooting.
Yeah, apparently the whole system kind of went to flop that I planned. Hmm. How about we just do something simple, more easier to comprehend? Can you add a counter and increase L row? Thank you. That just kind of hit me. You're right. Plus one. Thank you for reminding me. That's the problem. So our problem was, yeah, the problem was obvious actually. I can't believe I didn't think about it. So you actually have to call out a plus one at the end. Thank you for reminding me on that. Yeah,
Oh, I
so
see it.
yeah, so at the end of the declaration, you have to actually call out a plus one. so that you're saying, because if we're calling out just the last row, it's going to always go to whatever is on the final row. So if I had 2 rows here and I hit the submit button, then what's going to happen is it's just going to overwrite whatever my last value was. So if I had me in here as well, if I say Bryant and Ian, what's going to happen when I hit the submit button is it's going to overwrite me. Why is my Visual Basic not letting me click on it?
Maybe because you're still in the cell. I don't know.
Probably. There we go. All right. So hit play, and I'll say Gina here. We'll hit submit, and now it's doing an extra line. So because we added that +1, we got that issue fixed. Thank you for reminding me on that. I can't believe I wasn't paying attention to that.
Okay, so that was just plus, like you're going to the last cell, and then one more. Like
Yes.
you're actually
So
changing the definition of the variable, right?
yes. So
To
every
whatever
time,
it is. Okay.
yeah, every time we hit the submit button, what's happening is it's going to run the last row command, and then it's going to call out, count how many rows we have, and add 1 to whatever we have. So right now we have 3 rows. If I actually printed out whatever the last row is, you'll see that it'll change. And how about we make that the next big thing is a message box. A great thing I love to play with is message boxes. Try not to get too carried away with them, but they're really handy sometimes, especially for troubleshooting. If I was ever stuck in code and I'm trying to figure out, okay, why is this not working right? And I just need to see what is the variable that is being recorded. What I could do is use a message box. And message boxes are really simple. It's just MSG box space. First, you don't have to worry about the parentheses in this because we're just going to do a VBOK. So what we have to do first is we have to call out what do we want to have it say. So our prompt, if we're going to say anything, we put a quote. We say, rows found. Okay. We're going to add another quote now to continue our statement and add the variable at the end. We're going to go outside here and we're going to put the and symbol, and then we're going to call out our variable. So L shift ROW. So L capital row, the way the variable's written. And we're going to say comma. Now we have to say, what do we want our button box to be? We want it to be VB OK only. I'm sorry, VB OK only. OK and cancel, that's going to have a cancel button. If it's VB question, you'll see like a blue question box. VB critical, I believe that's going to have a red stop sign. VB warning, I believe that's going to have a yellow triangle with a little exclamation point in it. But VB OK only is only going to say, okay, here's an OK button for you. After we declare what type of box, we give it a title. So how do we want it to say? We'll say rows. And then after that, we should be good to go. So there's our message box declaration. Now if I go ahead and hit our run command here, and I say, I'll say my name again here. We'll hit submit, and then you'll see our little error here. Apparently we do have to have the parenthesis. I thought we didn't in this. Must be another language. Yeah, see, apparently message box rows found, L row. Oh my god, why? Rows. Something's not right again. Let me see. I know I got a message box right here that was pulled up. I thought I had everything under control. Yeah, color change, please. Yeah, I guess we don't need to add the VBOK only. We could just say the comma rows. Let's play that. Debug. Why are you bugging out on me? Out of memory. That's odd. Never had that before. Gosh darn it. I thought I had everything under control. It's easier when you're not speaking, I'll tell you that. So, it's funner when I had a written script in the past. Okay. Well, screw the message box for now. The message box, honestly, there's many informations on Google, so I'll give you a quick sample with Google again. Message boxes, there's so many different formats you can use message boxes with. Like I said, message boxes can actually be used to carry a variable. So you can actually say yes or no, and when you're doing that, you have to create a variable and have it returned. So it's a little bit more of a headache. And I don't really like using it too much, but when I do, I always have to come back here and figure out what the script was. Case box. That's the getting cases. Answer equals message box functions. Message box prompt, text file. That's for if we're getting a response. Oh my god. I freaking lost my head. Message box, last rows. This is fun. I don't know why I'm getting an out of memory error for a message box. That should not be giving me a message error. L row equals 4. Comma rows. At least it would usually give me an error every time that fails. Oh boy. I'm sorry, I thought I had everything all planned. This is the fun of programming, folks. I mean, if you don't have a bug, then you're doing something wrong.
I learn better troubleshooting anyways, personally. When I have to troubleshoot something, I never forget it.
Yes. That's when it's really fun. Message box, comma, okay. Yeah, so this message box is correct. You know what I figured out? There's our problem right there. I never quoted the text box. Wait, mismatch. Are you kidding me? Okay, comma, space. BBOK. Only. Comma. Title. There we go. Try that. Last rows. There we go. So now we have it. Now we have it fixed. It's all because I forgot quotes. Remember your quotes, people. That's stupid. It's stupid, but it's crazy. So
What
yeah.
was that VBOK only? What was that?
So VBOK only. That's what makes it be okay. So let me sample you some other boxes here as well. So
I'm sorry. I remember you talking about that. Okay, I
yeah.
get it now.
So I figured we could also sample some other box samples here. So VBOK only. That's just saying okay. It shows no symbols. VB. Yeah. Come back here. We put a comma, and then we say VB critical. What's going to happen is it'll still have the OK button, but it's going to give us a nice little symbol saying like this is very important. Make sure you do this. So I'll hit play. World submit. Now you see we have a little X here. So there's a nice little sample of VB critical. So the different VB options, they'll come up with these symbols. Another nice thing you can do is say I want to have a yes and no option as well. Well, what I could say is VB critical, then I say plus sign. If we stop our code first, what I do is say VB critical, and then we say plus sign, and then we'll say VB yes no. So what this is going to do is going to give us the VB critical and a VB yes no. So instead of saying okay, it's going to say yes no instead. So I'll hit play, hit submit, 7 rows found, yes and no. So I can hit no or yes and it'll close the box. Now say for some reason I want to actually make that yes and no be active, and then we're going to make a Boolean as well. Say we want to interact with our yes and no thing. Say we're asking someone a question. Say, are you sure you want to do this right now? Do you want me to add this to this row? So before we enter our data, let's say we want to ask this question. Hey, are you sure you want to submit this submission? Did you make everything right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually call out the an answer option. So we're going to make a new variable, and the new variable has to say um, what did that variable say? I had something here with message box ticket on error. Okay. So let's say we're going to make another dim here. So dim answer as a Boolean. So if you don't know what a Boolean is, Boolean only returns a value of a true or a false. So it's a very handy tool to have. Booleans I love to play with sometimes. And I use Booleans a lot in things I do. Where's the form I had? I had a simple yes and no statement here earlier. It was saying, are you sure you want to send? Message box, please enter. Message box, please enter. Where are my yes no statements? I had a freaking yes no variable in here. Like literally, I had papers printed and things just go missing. This is. Workbook, case. And I had it written out, and I really thought having these scripts here would have made things a lot easier, but apparently it's just making it more of a headache. I so should have wrote everything else out. Let me try thinking here for a second. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. So apparently we don't have to declare the variable if we're gonna make a interactive message box. So what we could do is we're gonna make our message box. We're gonna start out by saying a variable, and it's gonna be equals. Now we say message box, but this time we have to put it in quotes so that, or I'm sorry, in parentheses, so that it knows that this is our message box.
By the way, I'm a little slow on the chat response here, but it might not apply anymore. But at 5:45, Gina said she would take out rows.
She would
Just FYI.
take out rows. I'm not too sure where that was.
Sorry, I'll try and follow the chat more closely.
It's all right. I kind of sometimes see a little message pop up in the top when that happens, but oh, that was the area
Okay,
earlier.
got it. Yeah, I didn't know if it applied anymore. Thanks, Gina.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. But next thing we need to work once we have our variable assigned to our message box. So what's going to happen is our message box is going to return a value, and then we have to call it out. So to call out our message box response, all we have to do is create a nice simple if and then sequence. And if and then is a lot of every programmer should know this, but if and then in this world is a little different from the C# world. So in VBA, an if then sequence will be saying if, and then our situation. So if response equals VBS. In this case, instead of doing our curly brackets that we're used to, all we do is say space, then. And then in the next line, we just got to say end if. So everything that's between the if and the end if is going to be our little curly brackets. So what I pretty much wrote here for the C sharpers out there, or the C programmers, if parenthesis response equals VB yes. Yeah, it's going to show, we're going to see errors here because, of course, this isn't VBA that I'm writing right now. But if response equals VBS, then we're going to do whatever's in the middle. So what this is this. So, and another thing to know is, say you want it to be the opposite. Well, in object-oriented programming or C#, you're usually using an exclamation point and then the equal sign saying if not equal. So if the response is not equal to VBS, then do something. So, but in the case of VBA, what you're going to do is you're going to say if response, instead of saying if response, you're going to say if not response. So the not is going to say this is not true. So if this returns not true, then we're going to do what's in the middle. But in this case, we want it to be true. So if response equals VBS, then we're going to add our data. And we'll make our message box say, are you sure you have everything correct? Say ready. Okay. So now when I hit my VB okay, yes, no button, we're going to either create a new field or we're not going to create a new field. So I'll put my name here. We'll hit submit. Now it's going to say, are you sure you have everything correct? Now I still said what line we're on. I'm going to say no. And as you see, nothing happened. But now if I hit submit and I say yes, then our data got entered. So that's kind of what happened there. Let's do that not sample real fast just so you can see that in action real fast. So I'm going to say if not response equals VBS, what's going to happen is we'll hit no this time. So we'll say Ian. I'll hit submit. If I say yes, nothing's going to happen. So nothing happened. And this time I'm going to say no. And now something happened. So there's a little demonstration of the if statement for you for how to use your if statements. So no double equal signs. It's just a single equal. Now, say we are carrying multiple variables and we want to transfer all these variables onto our sheet. So say we also have my IEEE number or something else. We're trying to add more data to our forms. Well, we can go back into our form and we can add another text field. And for our text field, we can make this one be actually here's a very handy instructional here. When you're editing your forms, say for some reason you don't see the little toolbox to add fields. What you have to do is you go up to tools, or I'm sorry, was it tools? Add-ins window, debug, run, tools, format, insert. Okay, go to view, and then toolbox. So view toolbox, then you have our toolbox back again. It's a very handy trick to know, just in case you have, in case you ever lost your toolbox. But again, we'll just add another text box here. This time I'm just going to leave it so big. I'll add a label, and it's going to say, we'll make it say member number. Okay. So we change that to member number. So now we have our text field here. Say we had more than one field, or say we added this one prior to adding the name field, and we want them to have a tabbing order to where, like, once we hit the tab key, we want it to go to the next box. What you got to do is go down here to tab. So tab index. Just make sure you have it in the numerical order you want it. So this one's number 1. This one, if I go down to tab index, you'll see it says 3. Why does it say 3? Is because it also counts these. So go back through each one at a time. We go 0, and then we go 1. So now we have a tab index going on. If I don't change that, then we're going to be starting here. Then we're going to have to hit tab to go here, then tab, then tab. But now we can go ahead and run our code. And I forgot to do something else here. And what I forgot to do is forgot to actually make our data be added to our form. So in this case, to add the form, all we have to do is go into, we can copy this line, and we can paste that. And here we need to change this value of 1 to a value of 2. So we're calling out column 2. So when we hit our submit button, whatever we're calling out for is going to go into column 2 instead of column 1. Now we also have to call out our text box. In this case, it's text box 2 because I didn't rename it. All I did was I just added one. And then now that we have that in place, we can hit play. Now we're going to go ahead and enter data, Ian, and then I'll say some goofy number. I'll hit submit. Do I have everything correct? I'll take a quick peek. I'll say yes. And I think I still have the not statement in there. I'll hit submit. No. Yeah, because I have the not statement active. But as you see, now we have 2 rows of data. So this should kind of give you an idea how to create your data. Just say active row. Just say active row, followed by the sheet title, followed by how you're calling them out. So you're calling out the cells. Then you got to say the value. Say I want to create a new value. And then what is that value? And say I want to pull data from the form. Say I already have this data I need, but now I need to find the information related. So say I'm trying to find a member by their number that attended, or I'm just trying to find the number of a member that had attended. So let's say I'm going to go over here. We're going to create numbers for everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Say I want to get the member number of a member that attended. Well, what we could do is we can do a find. So find is kind of fun, and I use it every single day, believe it or not, because I have a big thing I have to do. Where what happens is I go through, I look for data, and then I return it back. And I think that this code here, if I'm correct, will have my find command that I'm after. Command 2 click, command 1 click, choose a folder. Okay, so this is my comparator. Create a folder, add parts, intro. Oh, this is another one. Last row, that's a different one. View this code. Last row. Order equals 1. A row is nothing. If I like. Order row sheets. Sheets. I'm sorry, let me find some data again. Yeah, I keep every single document I make. Still find the last row. How did I find my duplicate values? 2 row equals 2. Bomb. Dot value. I like. 4I equals 2. Okay, so this was getting values out, but that's not finding. Here we go. So this is what I'm after here. So I want to find select data. So say I want to find someone's name in here, and then I want to return what is their data. So let me copy this to a Word doc notepad. So for reference. And what I'm going to do here is we'll go back to our code that we're working on. Now what I want to do is I want to go into text box 1, and I want to collect the value from it. So we'll go ahead and get rid of our stuff here, and say you don't want to get rid of anything. You want to save things for future reference. Be like, oh, I already tried this. You want to make a comment block. Comment blocks is simple. It's just a single quote, and then your line will turn green. So anything that's commented out, you just got to put a quote mark, and then your line will be commented out. So it's great for taking notes or announcing what's going on. Like say I want to, in case someone else ever was working on this code, I can write up here saying author Ian. I put my name and stuff up there. So I got this set up until 9 o'clock. So just in case someone was wondering. But okay. So right now we're calling out our usePerform.value, and we're actually placing information. Not what I want to do right now. Right now, what I want to do is I want to return my data, and we'll return it into a message box. So what we'll do is we're going to call out the name of someone, and then we're going to ask, okay, what is the number of this individual from row 2? So first things first, we're going to call out our active worksheet. So active workbook.sheets. And in case someone was wondering, there is an easier trick to this. Now, I'm going to mention that later. Sheet 1, quote. You got to make sure your characters are all correct in this or else it fails. Dot, active workbook sheets, dot. Now, here we're going to call out where do we want to look for our value that we're trying to find. We're going to say the range, and this is where you're going to see the difference between a range and a cell. And range, rather than calling out by a integer value, you're going to call out by the actual column and row like you normally would in Excel itself. So what I'm going to say is range. We're going to look in column B. So I'm going to say B1 colon, and I'm going to say B200. So we'll just say we have all these values in here, even though we have nothing yet. But range B1, B2, B200. Actually, we want to be looking in column A because I'm going to look for the name, actually. So A1 to A200. Okay. Next thing we need to do is we need a dot find. And then what we're going to do in here is we're going to call out for the user form text box value. So we're say user form 1 dot text box 1 dot value. Okay. Now we found, yeah.
Just real quick, I'm just wondering, can you use your L row variable if you wanted? Like if you didn't know how many people were in this form anymore, can you use that variable to define the
range
row instead of A200? Could you do like A L row? Is that possible?
Yes, it is actually good thought. So to do that, what you have to do is kind of what we did earlier with the message box where I said and L row here. So you're just pretty much taking that and L row and you're doing the same here.
Oh, okay.
So,
And we don't have to. I was just wondering if it's a possibility because I was like, oh man, if I use this at work, like I don't know how far it would go, you know. I wouldn't know the number.
yeah, you can do this totally. In fact, I do it in another document. There's another form I do daily that I use the range and L row. So, and sometimes it's easier using range than cells, but I prefer using cells when it's a single value I'm uploading. But if it's like I'm trying to look through a bunch of things, then you have to use range.
Okay.
Range
Thanks.
is supposed to be a range. Cells is supposed to be a single organism. So yeah, so what we did, we called out range dot find, and now what we're doing is we're going to try to find the value that's stored in our text box right now. All right, and then once we found it, we're going to say dot row. Next thing we have to do is we also have to make this be a variable itself. So I'm going to say dim space name as integer. Okay, so we'll say actually name row. Name row. So dim name row as integer. And what I'm going to do is down here, we're going to call name row equals active workbook.sheets. So now that we've started searching through column A to find our name that we want to find, now we have to, once we've found our name, we have to get the value we want out of it. So it's kind of like, I'll reference back to Gina because with Gina, I was actually in her database class, so introduction to MySQL, and this is kind of where that type of stuff comes in handy. So say rather than me typing select name from sheet 1 where value like Ian, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do that same thing. I'm saying select the column B from sheet 1 where value is like Ian. So where the where value like is this. So if you haven't taken database analytics yet, or I'm sorry, not data analytics, just introduction to MySQL, then I'm a little ahead of you there. But okay, so we've now called out our name row. Now what we have to do is we have to actually get the value we want. And to do that, we have to go back to this row here. We'll copy that. We're going to make another answer here. So dim number as, we'll say it's a string. So dim number as string. So we're going to return number as a string value instead of a integer value. And now what we're going to do is we're going to call out number equals, and we got to call out our active workbook dot sheets and stuff again. So we're going to call out this row again in a way, and then we'll modify a few words. Active workbook sheet 1 cells. Instead of saying rows dot count, we're going to say name row. So name row, and then we got to call out our column. We're looking for column 2. We want to get the value out of column 2 to return. And then we can get rid of everything else. Let's say dot value instead. So what we're doing now is we're calling out to our sheet. Now we're saying take the value that you received here and get me what is next to it. So we're looking for our value. We found its row. Now I'm going to take that row number and I'm going to find the value that's stored in it. So if we run our code now, we're going to just go in this first cell here. We're going to call out for Gina because she's alone in this in our sheet here. I'll hit submit. One problem is I never actually made it declared how I want to see that response. So let's fix that. We got our number. We found our value. We got to make our message box again. So
Oh, I see. Like it found the value, but what do you want
it
me to
found
do
the
with it?
value, but it had no instruction to return it. So it never said, okay, how am I going to display this? I found your value, but there's no value to display because you didn't call for how I display it. So what I'll do is I'll call out a message box again. This time I'm going to say, we'll change the text here. We're going to make it say, we'll say user form 1 dot text box 1 dot, yeah, text box 1 dot value space and then we're going to say, we'll put a semicolon. We can't really do semicolons. To do a semicolon, I believe you have to do a forward slash and then the semicolon. Or I'm sorry, a forward slash and then the quotation. So what I'm doing is I'm going to say whatever name I typed, and then I'm going to say quote S, so Ian's name. So Ian's number is, and then we'll say space, and we're going to call out and number. So what's going to happen is we're going to return our value. The problem with this is we have
Is that what do you call that when you use the dash like that? Is that a escape character or a break? I can't remember what to call that. Because you're making it so that I don't remember why you need that
you need
forward slash.
you need the break because it's a special character. So when you do the forward slash, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to like break it and say, hey, this isn't part of our script here. But I guess
Okay,
we don't
right.
really need
Okay.
that for
Is
this
that what you
case.
call it? A break? You call it a break because you're saying I'm using a special character, but I don't want it to be used as a special character. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of saying I want to say I'm trying to write a big sentence. I'm trying to make I'm trying to like actually quote something. So in my response here, I want to actually have the quotes. So in order for those quotes to appear and for our script not to get confused, we have to actually put that / in there just to kind of declare, hey, this isn't part of the code. This is actually a note. So like apparently because we're only having that one single quote, it's not a problem here. But say I want to put like actual quotes, then I have to use that / so it says, hey, ignore this. But
Okay.
apparently it's still jacking up that. Yeah,
So like now is it, I don't want to distract from what you were talking about. So, but it looked like it was
there
breaking
is a special
for
break
that second
character.
quote, but then the apostrophe then, or the single quote was then treated as a special character. Like it only breaks the next character or something.
Yeah, it's only supposed to break that next character, but apparently because single quote is a commentary. So let me do this. Actually, / space. Now I'm going to do another / quote. Yeah, it's causing errors.
Yeah, it's okay. I was just, I wanted
/
to ask about that character. It's called a break. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a / but for some reason I think I'm doing it wrong. I'll have to look that up again. Another thing for me to try to figure out why I'm screwing up. But luckily we don't
No big,
need that. We don't need that break. If you're ever trying to do that, just look online. What is the break character?
thanks.
Yep, I'll hit play. We're gonna find our look for our user that we're trying to find the number of. So say I'm looking for Bryant Farrow. Now I'll say submit, and then as you see, we got your name, and then we say their number is, and then here's our return value. I'll hit OK. Say I want to find someone else. Like say I want to find. I kind of wrote that name wrong, but Michale. Okay, I'll hit submit. And as you see, we got a number 5 now. So this is kind of a great tool, great way to kind of search through all your data and find this unique value that you need to find. And what you're doing is you're trying to do a find. So this is your format. Say your active workbooks, everything like usual, but instead of saying a value, you say find. And if you're trying to find the value of another cell, all you do, you copy all that and you say all this information dot value. So I want to find the value of, I want to try to find whatever is in this, in column 1. I would say find, and then the name dot value. And that trick is very handy. Knowing how to do that is very handy when you're comparing 2 workbooks or 2 worksheets together. We're not going to go into that much of a detail tonight because workbook comparisons are kind of goofy. It's kind of a little trick you have to pull. But I will show you something really interesting I do lately, and that is creating files. A lot of people don't know this, but Excel isn't limited just to Excel. Excel, you can do a lot of stuff. And let me show you something here. There's this folder here called SAP Shortcuts. Now, SAP is what we use in, oh, this is the wrong SAP Shortcuts, actually. This folder here, actually. So, in my company, we use what's called SAP for our database. And it kind of stresses me out because I took data analytics classes, and working with this type of database, it makes you bang your head if you're used to writing queries. It's stressful to me. But anyway, one thing is I need to be able to run these commands constantly. And a cool thing about these shortcuts is there's a trick to where I can make them to where they'll actually always open with this number always typed into the main field for me. But the pain is I needed to, I'd have to go into every single one of these and actually edit its code. So I'd have to go into every single one of these fields and open up Visual Studio Code, and then I have to edit a few lines. Boring. So what do I do about it? Well, we make a script. We make a Visual Basic script that can make not only these files, but it can make that whole folder itself. So let's kind of venture into this code, because it was a really big thing that I was able to make for the engineering team at my job. So I need to figure out where I put that generator, though. It's supposed to be a SAP shortcut generator. That was an Excel worksheet I made. File, we'll open SAP shortcut generator, because it was moved, renamed, or deleted. Okay, SAP shortcut generator. Why did I delete that? Oh, I know where it's at. I just thought of it. It is in my development page. I keep it in programming. Software, programming and design, VBA, SAP shortcut generator. Okay. So another thing I forgot to mention earlier, actually, very important, is you need to what was I gonna say? Shoot, I just lost my word. Oh, one thing that's very important to know is how to actually open your forms. So your forms, when you want to get them opened, like I said, if I was to save this Excel document right now at like the way I'm supposed to save it, which probably should teach that real fast before I get too far ahead of myself. Excuse me. Hit the save icon here. This is very important for your macros in order for them to run. An Excel file saved alone, just as an XLSX, will not run your macros. So what you have to make sure you do is when you save your file, make sure you save it as a .xlsm. So right here is a sample. Just give it a name and save it as .xlsm. The M at the end is for your macros. So change XLSX to XLSM. Good thing is say you want to save it as an XLSX to share with someone and not show that there were macros in it, just change that to an X instead. But you'll get a warning saying, hey, you can't save it like this. So like right now, if I was to try saving this, it's going to give me an error saying, hey, this has macros in it. Are you sure you want to save it as a macro free workbook? I'm going to say no. What I'm going to do is change this to macro enabled. And then I'll hit save. So very important for you. Another thing is like when I try opening that file, this form will not appear in any way, shape, or form. Why? Because it is it's not being called upon. The Excel document doesn't know to open this form. So there's two options here. One, we can make it to where when our Excel book opens, it'll actually automatically open that form for us, so we can do with it what we want. So say I want to show this form immediately. What I could do is I can go to this workbook, hit view code, and then up here I could go down to workbook. And when the workbook opens, I'm going to call out the command saying the form name, so user form 1, and then I want to say .show. Now when I open up my application, what's going to happen is user form will instantly appear. So if I run this, it would appear. So it's very important to know. In fact, like this SAP shortcuts generator, if you didn't notice, when I opened it, by default, it immediately opened the form, and then it made Excel hide. So the trick behind that is actually in the workbook. What happens is when workbook opens, we're going to first call out application visible, or I could say, I could try calling out just, oh, bless me. I could just call out the workbook itself, but I just call out the whole application because I want only my form to be the main focus of attention. If I have this quoted out, what's going to happen is the application will still show in the background releasing my valuable information, because main reason why I want my book to be hidden is because inside my Excel document, I have my very important files that I need. Because this script actually calls out to the form, getting information to recall data. So this is our script to make our big, how do you say, our folder generator. So Excel is only used as a database tool in this manner. What happens is when the user form initializes, it's going to go to my Excel file. It's going to call out all the fields that are in my Excel file saying, hey, load the cells with this information if it exists. Once we have that, then we go on to where we're going to fill information in. If you notice here, it says on error, resume next. This is very similar to a try catch scenario, except you don't have you don't really have control over it. All it's going to happen is it's just going to resume the next line. So if an error happens, it's going to resume the next line, and it'll go all the way until the end of the sub. It scares me. I'm used to try catches, because a try catch, I could say, okay, try doing this line, and then catch, send me a message box saying that there was an error. On error, resume next. If there's absolutely no value in the cell, then it's going to be ignored, and it's just going to continue down the line. Next big thing in this code is we have this function here, the browse button. Now, my browse button on my form, what's going to happen is when I click on the browse option here, the browse option gives me a file tool. First, it's going to give me a prompt just saying, like, make sure you select where you want the folder to be generated. So I want my folder to be generated on my desktop in this case. I'm going to hit OK. Now I have a file dialog window that I open from within VBA. So it's a very simple trick, and I'll review it here in a second. So my file dialog, you'll see it shows the Excel icon, says choose a folder to create material folder in. So I'll go say my desktop. I'll hit OK. Now, as you see, the folder got generated. Down here, because I've never opened this file before, I'd have to say I have to put in my username for my application. But next time this form runs, that'll be there. This will be there. The only thing that doesn't get reloaded from my form is the material number. When I hit create, it's going to create this whole folder and stuff. I'm not demoing that right now because that's actually a sample code that I don't want to have touched. But let's review how the browse button works. So I'll go ahead and copy all this so we can do it from scratch in our other file. So let's go to our document that we've been working on here, our user form 1. In this case, we're going to create a folder option. Oops, that just clicked the whole background. So we're going to create a new button. And we'll call this button the browse button. I'll just leave it as command button too. I never really name my buttons half the time, but we're going to say browse for its caption. Now, I'll double click the browse. You got our data here. Here's our command that we're going to run if we ever hit the browse button. And in here, what we need to add is everything except for that top line. So, that's the create. That's how to create the folders. That's not the right command. I copied the wrong lines. Gosh darn me. There we go. This is what we want here. All right. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. So let's go under this browse option so you can learn how to navigate folders. You can also do this for selecting files to compare. Say you have two files and you want to be able to compare them side by side, which is one thing I have to do every Tuesday and Thursday. Originally, it was always being done by hand, but then I implemented macros to make it easier for whoever had to do it. So here's all you got to do. Command in our command button function, all we have to do first, we got to declare our file if we're returning a file. So dim, I'll say file as string. Okay, we'll add a new line, and we're going to skip over the message box factor because honestly, that's just an option. That's just like a first prompt is saying like, hey, make sure in this next window you do this. The next thing we have to use is a outside application. So what we're going to do is we're going to call with application dot, and then we'll say file dialog. And then we'll say MSO file dialog picker. If you notice, we also have several options we can use here for the file dialog. You have the open, you have save as, you have file picker. So say I want to open a file, that's where I'd use this. And what's going to happen is it's going to open up a an Explorer window, and then whatever file it's going to let me go until I click at a file. Once I found that file, I click open, and then it's going to open that file for me. In this case, we're going for we're going to open a file dialog so we can pick a folder to generate. So MSO file dialog folder picker. And if you don't want to have to type all this stuff, just go to the previous thing before that. Just go to the bracket. When you create that bracket, it'll prompt you. So then I can just click on there, folder picker, tab, and close. So with this application, all right, we're going to create a new line, dot allow, and we're going to say allow multi-select, false, because we're only want to select one file. Title, this is what's going to appear at the top. We'll say equal pick file. And then dot show, because we want to see it. And then we need to make it to where once we've selected the item, we want to have its results returned. So that's where we say, selection equals dot selected items. Now we'll got to declare a variable. Now, the only time you need to use this, the variable, say we selected multiple files, say we were told pick two files. I want you to pick file 1 and file 2. Well, then what we'll do is we're going to say selected items 1, and then we'll say selection 2 equals dot selected items 2. So folder 1 and folder 2. In this case, we're only returning one value. Finally, we're going to end our with, and we're going to do something else with withs here in a second. But end with, and now that our with is done, we now have our file selected. Now what we can do is we can print out our selection in a message box here, just saying like, hey, here's what you picked. We'll say copy this, paste that, and we're going to make it say selection. I'm going to leave it as VB critical, and I'll say picked file. All right, so that's all set up. We'll hit play. And now when I hit my browse button, you should see our file pulled up. You see how the title says pick file. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and pick a folder that we want to use. So I'll say I want to use my VBA folder here. I'll hit OK. And then now we have our, now we can see the file name. So very handy for navigating and creating files and folders and stuff. Now I'm sure the next big thing you want to know, how do I actually make a special folder in this folder, or how do I make a document in this folder? Well, let's go down to our my code here, And we're going to do our function here. So the create folder function. Go ahead and copy all this again. Notepad. So sub create folder. Let's go back up to user form, view code. So now I have my data. Now I want to create a folder in this same location. So what I'll do is I'll say path is string. So I'm going to make a new variable path. Well, actually, no, we already have a path selected. That's selection. So that's already taken care of. Next thing we have to do is a width again. And I'm going to go over widths here in a second for those wondering what a width is. Because widths are very handy to know. So width creates object. Now we're going to call out scripting.file system object. Okay. Next thing we need to do is we need to also make sure our thing doesn't exist. I'm just saying the end with just to close our with when we're done. So we have to actually make sure this folder doesn't exist anywhere. So I'm going to say if not dot folder exist. And then in parentheses, we got to say where our folder's at. We say it's selection. Okay, close that. Space. We're gonna add a then. You always have to put the then at the end of the line. Then you can do a create. Then you can create a new line. We're gonna say dot creates folder location. So now we have that created. I'm gonna end my if statement. Now what's gonna happen is when I do that function again, we'll actually see a folder generate on my desktop. So I'm gonna hit browse. I'll say VBA. Now I'm going to make it kind of a little goofy here. I'm going to say / home. I'll hit OK. Even though it gave me an error here. Okay, I didn't think that was going to happen. But VBA home. So we made our, we selected our directory. We'll hit OK. Now what's going to happen is here's our information. When I hit OK, what's going to happen is the VBA folder will be generated. Now I don't want that to happen, honestly, because that kind of overwrites my folder. Instead, I want to go with where the file was, where I want my folder created, and then we'll say, what do we have in our text box? How about that? Browse, create folder location, create folder location space, and we're going to put a quote, new folder. Okay, but we got to make sure we add our / here. So, and new folder. So a new folder is going to be generated, and it's going to say new folder. We'll say my new folder. How about that? My new folder. Okay. So now when I run that command, if I go over here, I'll hit browse. I'm going to hit, hit browse. We'll go to my desktop here again, and we'll hit OK. We see desktop. I'll hit OK. Now that since the file doesn't exist, if we look over here, we should see a folder that says my new folder somewhere. No. Window E. I'm on desktop. And my new folder did not generate. So something's not right. But that's kind of your general path that you would be taking. Create folder, location, and whatever you're calling it. Now let's go into these with statements because I'm sure you're dying to know what are these withs? Well, with is going to say anything before a dot, use this information. Okay, so if we start the statement out with a dot and I don't have it inside of a with, usually there's going to be some big error that's going to happen. So like up here, we see last row, active workbook sheets, blah, blah, blah. If you notice down here, we have active workbook being called multiple times. We're always calling this active workbook sheet. Well, let's fix that. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this stuff we just did because now we're back to what we did earlier and we're kind of cleaning up our code more. We want to make our code a little cleaner, just make it easier for someone else to understand in the future. So what we'll do, we're going to clean up this area. And up here, what we're going to do is make a with statement. So up here, I'll say with, and in my with, I'm going to copy all this. So with active workbook sheets, sheet 1. Now in here, up until I say end with, so I'll say end with here. Okay, so anything in between with and end with right now. If I only have a dot, what's going to happen is it's calling for that alone. So active workbook, sheets, sheet 1, and then I said dot sheet, or I'm sorry. Now I'm saying active workbook sheets dot cells dot row. Okay. So I said with this, and anything in front of the dot is this. So I can get rid of active workbook sheet 1 here. So now it says dot range. Down here I can get rid of that as well. So it says dot cells. So now our code will run the exact same way as it did before. And one little thing I'm going to do here is
So what, it just like precedes every dot with that argument, the active workbook dot sheets?
yes, it does. So every dot is
Oh,
preceded with
crazy.
this.
Okay.
That's why we have a with statement. It's very handy for when you're doing constants like that.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have to keep typing it over and over. Okay.
I mean, another trick is you could say dim uh, WB as workbook. And then I could say down here, I say WB equals active workbook dot sheets parenthesis sheet 1. So I could say this if I wanted. I could say,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I'll just do WB instead.
yeah.
Okay.
So then I'd be putting WB here instead. But save time, just say with. But if you're doing
Okay.
two, you can't do a with within a with, at least not to my knowledge. So, just do a single with. You could try doing a with within a with. I think if you do a with within a with, then when that with becomes active, so say if I put a with here, then the with on the outside isn't going to be used in that manner because the code's going to be confused. Okay, which one are you want me to use? So I think the code is programmed to where it'll actually only focus on the inner with at the moment. So it's almost like an embedded if statement, an if statement within an if statement in a way. But another thing I need to do because my other application kind of closed out my workbooks, I want to also make that workbook be viewable again. So I'm going to say active workbook uh, sheets.show. I want to say dot show here because right now our active workbook isn't seen. So when I hit play, we see our code here. I'm going to look for I think I'm doing a search right now, so I'll hit the genius name again. I'll hit submit. We have a error here, so it doesn't know to show. I need to figure out how to get my workbook shown again. because that's a problem. That one application, the one script here, kind of causes that error. I think I can click on another workbook, another document, and it'll open it. There we go. Now our workbooks are viewable again. At least I thought they were. That's the other document. Why do I not see my Gina one, or the one that had data? I don't know why this other workbook's hidden right now. I'm just gonna hit save, and I'm gonna close all my Excel documents. So I'm gonna save this real fast just to get our view again, so we could see things. Got about 15 minutes remaining in the night, so need to step it up some. Yeah, that caused an error. Book one. Gotta save it as an XLSM. Hit save. Okay, and I can close. Close. I don't want to save the changes to that. Close you. No changes were made. All right, so. Oh boy, where did I save that to? Stupid me. Should be in my documents. Or I could just open Excel. Okay, book one XLSM here. All right, so now there's my stuff again. Enable content. There's my form viewable again. So now that my form viewable, we can go ahead and look up a name here. Like I said, Gina, hit submit. And as you see, it still ran even though we have that special script in there. So it still pulled up my data, but what we did, we changed the one value to where it's inside of a with statement instead of actually writing the entire line. So with active workbooks, and it still did all this finding and stuff for us. So I think that's as far as I'll go tonight because there's still a lot of other stuff we can be covering in another day. Like some cool things are cases. A case is where you can do a kind of a comparison. And I use that for a really big document, like for highlighting certain information that we're after every day. You can also open two workbooks side by side and actually compare the two workbooks. So we can take old data and compare it with new data. Very nice trick to know, especially if you're got stuff that you're dealing with every day. Like if you didn't see this order status document here, this order status document, what it has is information for me, but this one cell changes every single week. I'm just trying to hide some very important fields here that are kind of confidential. Hide. Okay. So, oops, that's the wrong thing. All right. So on this Excel document here, these fields here are actually populated by comparing with another file. So every week I have this file that what I do is I hit the update cells. What it does is do the comparator and it can find those files for me. Apparently I have a bug because I never put in a file name. But this document actually calls out to another workbook and says, hey, I want you to look for this value in this other document. And every time you find it, I want you to return all the data that follows. And I also want you to find me where is it on the document? What line is it on? So I found this value here. Okay, what line is it on this document that I just pulled from? So if I go to update cells, find file, I go to my ETO report that I pull every day. I hit that button, it'll find it. It'll pull all that data for me automatically and compare it for me. So we just barely scratched the surface tonight. We only have 10 minutes, so I'll go ahead and open up to any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can kind of see any raised hands.
Yeah, because you can still unmute anyone. It's just one at a time, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, so if anyone has a question or something, go ahead and raise your hand if you wish. And then I can unmute you. Or you can say something in the text if you have a question.
I did have a question
Mm-hmm.
earlier that when you had like / my folder, blah blah blah, you were trying to define, I think, the name of the folder.
Mm-hmm.
Did you need the / just because that's how the file system would write it out? It wouldn't automatically put in a / to create a new file.
No, it wouldn't. So if I was making a new file, like generating of a file system, if I took an address, say to my programming and design folder, if you open up an Explorer window and you click on the search bar at the top, you'll see that it comes out with there's where the error was. It was a backslash. So the main reason why my file
Okay.
generation didn't
Yeah.
work is because I used a / instead of a
Yeah. Windows
backslash.
uses backslashes for their
Hmm.
yeah designation.
Now I'm going to tell you, not always, okay? / are actually
Oh,
used when
okay.
it's not on your physical computer. So if you're in a big master network and you're trying to communicate to like an outside server, sometimes those outside servers rely on like / It's weird. It's kind of odd how some file systems work.
And
But
Crystal says thank you for the presentation, by the way.
yeah, if you have any questions or you need some help making your own file, just reach out and let me know. Um, yeah, Ladinia is raising a hand here. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Ladinia.
Okay. Awesome job. Thank you very much for this. And you said
Mhm.
you were going to put the recording where? Oh,
YouTube.
okay. And will you share the link for that in the programming committee channel for us?
Yeah.
And then, my next question is the saving of the files. I know that when I'm doing my macro stuff in Word, that if I'm saving the files, it'll do this weird like percent stuff for going into the OneDrive. So it was the way that you showed us, like going right there on that PC, not to OneDrive or anything like that.
Yeah, it was destined for this computer.
Okay.
So
All
I was
right. And
trying to do like
is
a
that the
local
best way
directory.
to do something like this, is to put it right there on the computer that you're using and not try and save it in the cloud, just maybe back it up in the cloud later?
Hmm. I'd probably say it would be like I haven't really pushed anything out to the cloud. The only document I actually have in the cloud, well, actually, no, that's not even in the cloud right now. I've actually never tried doing uh, macro development in 365 yet. So that's something I kind of need to play around with.
Okay.
So yeah, but it's something worth exploring yourself. I mean, it's not hard to learn. Visual Basic. I mean, I didn't have any classes on it. It was all self-taught. It's just knowing basic principles to programming. There are some differences that you just got to adapt to, but you could do so much with it. Like I said, you can make files, you can make applications. You can actually straight from VBA. For those that don't know, you can also make an email. Like you can make it to where VBA will actually send a full email out to users. In fact, the main way I got started with VBA was actually at Fanatics. I was an IT technician there for a little while. Hopefully, I was hoping to become the data analyst when he moved up to Columbus, but like he even suggested me to them. He said like he knows data analytics, and he even challenged me. He said like, here, can you show me how to do this? Can you show me how to do that? And he's like, you know what you're doing. I need to try to get you with these guys because I'm getting ready to leave. They never interviewed me, but yeah, I was furious on that matter. But yeah, there's a lot you could still do in VBA, and why I'm bringing up Fanatics is because what we had for snow for the tickets that we do, one of the IT technicians, he made an application to make it easier to manage snow tickets. Our end users didn't really know how to create a snow ticket, so we made a desktop application that when you click on it, it opens up a form, and this form is actually Excel in disguise. I got really curious, and I'm like, oh, you got to show me how you're doing this. What are you doing? So he gave me access to the document. He said, here, just study it and learn it. It's really simple if you have a full working application. And for the email factor, like, yeah, it would actually, people would fill out the form, and then the email would actually send us like information about the like who the sender was, what time was it sent at. Another big thing, which this is where I'm going to give a disclaimer here, because how you use this knowledge, I am not responsible for. Okay, and why am I saying that? Is because you can use. There's a reason why they ask you, "Are you sure you want to enable the macro?" And it's because you can get computer information out of a macro. I can make a macro that when you open this application, it'll instantly capture all your feudal information from your computer for me, and then instantly email me, and you won't even know it unless you know how to find the macro. So I can make it look like a simple
FYI,
form.
Lavinia asked, do they need Microsoft to fill out the form?
Yeah, I believe you still have to have access to Excel in order to be able to do it. So you have to have a Microsoft account. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if it works when you don't have it, but I believe you do. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that factor. But yeah, this is why macros are very dangerous. You can use them for bad purposes. Like, I could make a macro today and send it to someone, and it just looks like a simple form just saying, hey, I just need your IEEE number and I need your name. But what they didn't see was that form in the background was doing a malicious thing, and it was getting the computer name, it was getting the computer's IP address, it was getting the network IP address, it was getting all this information that's very futile to your security, and it just sent it all in an email straight to me when you finish filling that form. Like, right when you open the application, it just copied all this data, sent it to me, and then you're stuck filling out a form that it's like, I don't care for that form. You just gave me everything I wanted. So be careful when open macros, okay? Honestly, I actually wanted to make one macro here prior to doing this. That was going to be a sample of how you can how you can do that type of stuff. In fact, you can use these macros, do that message box, fix that message box up on a loop. And then that loop, what's going to happen is it'll continue every time you hit OK, the message box will just reappear. Hit OK, it reappears again. Hit OK, reappear again. So macros can be used very dangerous ways.
Maliciously.
Very maliciously. Yes, the loop. I am saying the loop. Put it on a loop and it'll never end. Unless you have a pause button. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're running a macro and you need to stop it for any reason, so that ticket button or the folder generator that I made, the only way to stop it is either I have to open another Excel document or I have to hit Control Pause on my keyboard. Problem with my laptop does not have a pause button. Why? I don't know. I don't see no pause buttons. I think it's Control P can be hit as well. But it freezes it and then it lets me do what I need. But the loop, you keep that loop going and going and going. There you go. Gina, I will actually, how about I just pull that back up again? Oh, actually, is that in the PowerPoint still?
Yeah, you want to put your email in the chat?
Yeah, how about I throw my email actually on the programming committee channel? How about that? So, so I just put my email in the programming committee chat. There's two emails actually. So one is my IEEE email. That's primarily my first one. The other one is my business email for Metler Toledo. Yeah, you can reach out to me anytime, Gina. We need to we need to come up with some more ideas for our future plans here. So hopefully next time I'll be a little more organized.
No, you did fine. Do you want me to kind of close up since we're out of time here?
Yep, we are out of time. It's 9 o'clock exactly. So at least I have good on keeping track of time.
Cool. Thanks, Ian. That was great. I actually am looking forward to the next one because I did not know that these capabilities were available in Excel. I think Gina mentioned earlier, oh, what was it? She said sometimes she will record a macro if she's not sure of the code in VBA. And I'm like, okay, I've seen that, but I did not know this was possible. Like I've seen how you can kind of record steps that you want to perform in something, but this was a lot more than I was expecting. So thank you for the presentation.
Oh yeah, there's still a lot more to learn. There's many things. I think next time, considering the fact this was more of an introduction, like we kind of covered the bare basics. Next time I think I'm gonna kind of pick a different pick a certain topic and try to stick on it. But the best way to do it is like come up with we need to come up with like an application to figure out how we can make this application. Because
I
that's
agree.
like the key thing I've always done is I've had some sort of scenario going on. I had a goal, and then I needed to figure out how to reach that goal. I would really love to sample the things that I made for my job because they really have everything that we need in a big production world. But there's confidential information, and I can't really just be spilling out customer names and stuff like that. So,
Well, for everyone out there, definitely reach out to us on Discord or check out our website, and you can email me and let me know what you want to see or what you want to do, and we'll try and make it happen. So
yeah.
thanks for watching.
Ladinia, was your hand still raised there? Or
It was not, but thank you
okay.
so much for coming, and we hope to see everybody in our IEEE Discord group.
Yeah, let's hope everyone comes on. Yeah.
All right, I guess we can just close out then.
Yep. I hope everyone learned something at least. But yeah, next time we'll have a project. How about that? So
Sounds
probably
good to me.
huh?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, probably in 2 weeks we can do a different one, and we could probably make it be more of a sophisticated project instead of an introduction. So.
All right. See you then.
All right, I'll create a new link later this week.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Yep. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for coming.